Introduce yourself for me if you would.
Hello, my name's Colin Chabon. I live on Walney Island and I'm a mobility scooter user.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely fine.
Good.
Tell me about the problems that you're having with particularly these barriers going onto footpaths.
Well, the problems are basically that I can't use any of the local footpaths. There are 2 footpaths in the area that claim to be disabled friendly, neither of which are, and the vast majority of which are downright discriminatory.
What sort of barriers are in your way?
The ones that are commonly described as motorcycle barriers. Quite often, they're not actually.
It's alright, just stop and start again.
Yeah, that we're going to lead into a long ramble, and I don't think you wanted that.
That's alright, I'll ask you again then.
Do you want me to describe the types of barriers?
I was going to say, yeah, just briefly. Tell me about the barriers that are causing you a problem.
The barriers that I'm most concerned with are the huge metal constructions, which the councils will tell you are there to stop motorcycles.
But they're doing more than stopping motorbikes.
They're not stopping motorbikes. I could get a motorbike through them, but I can't get a legal mobility scooter through.
Now we should say these are the big sort of tubular steel things. They've got a place at the side where you can get a conventional wheelchair through by the look of it, and they've got a sort of an obstruction that's supposed to stop you riding a motorbike through there. But why doesn't any of that work the way it should?
Well, these routes are quite often on places. Start again. I know what I'm going to say. These routes are quite often along places where a manual wheelchair just isn't practical, up and down steep hills and so on. The second point is that only a small minority of disabled people are capable of propelling themselves in a manual wheelchair. So to all intents and purposes, when you're talking about scenic walks, what you're talking about is allowing access to class 2 and 3 electric mobility scooters. Anything short of that only caters for a minority of disabled people.
So what you're saying is some of the distances involved in these paths and the gradients and so on are just too much for a conventional manual wheelchair to cope with anyway?
Yes, they are, but there is also the point that not many disabled people are capable of using a manual wheelchair in the first place.
Just sort of expand on this a bit more, tell me about what they use.
If you have heart or lung problems, then you're more likely to have either an electric wheelchair, which strictly speaking is best used in very confined spaces, shops and the like, or a class 2 or 3 electric invalid carriage. They're designed for up to 30 miles range. They can climb very steep gradients. They're what you would use by choice on countryside walks and scenic routes.
Tell me about what you miss by not being able to get onto these routes that you'd like to.
In a word, adventure. Quite often I have no idea what I'm missing because I can't get there to see it. It's a combination of curiosity and adventure. I want to be able to access places. Sorry, I'll start that bit again. I don't mind my disability restricting access to where I go and what I do, but I will not tolerate other people placing unnecessary barriers in my way, preventing me from doing what I can and can't do. That is just somebody else making my decisions for me. I'll kill myself struggling up a sand dune if I think the view at the top is worth it. But nobody on this planet has got the right to decide whether or not I climb that dune.
And we're standing beside the old slag heaps just on the north side of Barrow. There's a train just going past because we're just beside the railway track. But there's a great view from up there which you'd like to be able to see.
I'd like to see it more regularly. I have seen it twice. On the first occasion, I got 2 able-bodied friends to physically hoist my electric mobility scooter over every barrier, and there's probably around a dozen on the route, give or take a few. On the second occasion, because I wanted to use it independently of other people, I designed and built a little trailer that went on the back of the scooter and folded out into a ramp. This ramp would completely cover the little hump, and it would let me walk my mobility scooter through. Unfortunately, on the very first use, I got to the top of the slag bank, but it destroyed the trailer, and I shouldn't be expected to do that just to go up and have a look at sunset.
What was it like when you were there? What did it feel like being up there?
It was absolutely marvellous. I've been out in the boat since and made a video about Walney meetings. What that is basically, there's two flows of water coming into Walney Channel, one from the north, one from the south. And Walney meetings is the area where they meet. And to sit there at the top of the slag bank and watch that happen, I was enthralled. The flocks of all my favourite birds feeding in the mud, watching them all flying away and moving on as the water came up to them, watching the swirling of the water and the sky. You could see for miles, you could see the entire length of Walney. And if the council have their way, I'll never see that again, and that is just not fair.
Certainly from that description I can see why you'd want to be up there again.
I want to be up there at midnight just to see what it's like. I want to be up there on sunny days, cloudy days, when it's pelting it down with rain. I have a right to be there. Accessibility, it's not a privilege that people can bestow on you, it's a right. According to the Disability Discrimination Act, by now all facilities like this should be open to everybody.
So I guess you're waiting for the time when they are.
Well, that's why I've started this campaign. I wrote to the council about it and got a very flippant reply that didn't address any of the facts. And the basic argument seemed to be that as these barriers come to the end of their useful life, they will be replaced with more accessible ones. I have two arguments with that. One, kissing gates on Walney are already being replaced, like for like. They're not using the modern radar gate, which will allow disabled people through. And two, these barriers have got a usable life far longer than I have. So what they're saying is that yes, the route will be made accessible, but not in your lifetime.
Colin, that's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Smashing.